All right, if you're a diehard Browns fan like me, someone who lives and breathes every down, every snap, and every offseason headline, then you're in the right place. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you never miss an update. Because what we're building on this channel is a space for real football talk, not the surface-level stuff. I'm talking deep dives, film breakdowns, the kind of conversations that diehards like us crave. Now let's get into it, because this Browns offseason, it's been wild. I mean, if you blinked, you probably missed. 5 storylines. From the jump, it's been one dramatic twist after another. We had the Myles Garrett trade rumors explode out of nowhere. The fan base was in panic mode. Then came the back and forth with his contract extension, which had half of us checking Twitter like it was a stock ticker. And don't even get me started on the quarterback carousel, because it never really stops in Cleveland, does it? But here's what I want to focus on today, and I think it's something that a lot of people have overlooked. While everyone's attention has been glued to the big names and flashy headlines, the Browns have been making some surgical, under-the-radar moves that could end up shaping the entire 2025 season. These are the kinds of moves that don't trend on social media, but can win you football games in November and December. One of those moves? Maliek Collins. I know, he's not the splashy name. He's not going to sell jerseys or break Twitter. But I'll say this right now. The Maliek Collins signing might go down as one of the smartest, most strategic decisions this front office has made in years. Let me break it down for you. Collins became available after a surprising move by the San Francisco 49ers. He still had a year left on his contract, and they let him go. Why? Cap space. They're trying to figure out how to pay Brock Purdy and George Kittle, so they had to make some tough cuts, and Collins was one of them. But here's the thing. His play didn't decline. This wasn't a performance issue. It was pure business. So what did the Browns do? They moved quick, real quick. They brought Collins in on a 2-year, $20 million deal. And that's not just filling a roster spot. That's replacing Dalvin Tomlinson and adding a veteran presence to a defensive front that's already scary on paper. And the fit? Oh, the fit is perfect. Collins thrives in an aggressive upfield scheme. And guess what Jim Schwartz runs? That exact style. Now I've watched a lot of tape on Collins. And here's what stands out. He's not just a guy who clogs space. He gets penetration. He gets into the backfield. Over the past 4 seasons, he's been in the top quarter of all interior defensive linemen in pass rush grades according to PFF. Every single year, above a 70. In 2024, he ranked 7th in pass rush win rate among all interior linemen in the league. That's elite company. That's not just serviceable. That's disruptive. And in Schwartz's system, that disruption is exactly what we need. Because think about it. When you've got Myles Garrett coming off the edge and Maliek Collins pushing the pocket from the middle, quarterbacks are going to have nowhere to step up, nowhere to run. And when you mix in Mason Graham, our first-round pick, who's already showing flashes of being a true every-down defensive lineman, you've suddenly got a trio that can collapse a pocket from every direction. But look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Collins isn't perfect. He's had issues against the run. His grades in that department over the past 2 seasons have been pretty bad, down in the 40s, which puts him near the bottom of the league. That's concerning. You don't want to get gashed on early downs and then hope your pass rush bails you out on 3rd. But here's where I see hope. Environment matters. Fit matters. So, please take 2 seconds to hit the subscribe button, like the video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. In San Francisco, Collins was asked to do things that didn't necessarily align with his strengths. In Cleveland, he's going to be asked to attack, to play downhill, to get off the ball and cause chaos. That's what Schwartz preaches. And if Collins buys in, and I believe he will, we could see those run defense numbers climb back to respectable territory. Maybe not elite, but good enough to stay on the field on all 3 downs. And that's where things get exciting. Because when you think about the depth we've got now, with Garrett, Collins, Graham, and guys like Ogbo Okoronkwo in the mix, You're looking at one of the deepest defensive fronts in the AFC, maybe the NFL. And in a division like the AFC North, where every game is a war in the trenches, that matters. That wins games. That finishes games. Let me also talk about the leadership side of things, because I think people overlook that way too often. Collins isn't just a body, he's a vet. This will be his 10th season. He's seen every kind of offensive line you can throw at him. That experience? That's gold for a young guy like Mason Graham. That's someone who can help groom him, not just in practice, but in how to watch film, how to take care of your body, how to show up for work every single day like a pro. And yes, there's a little risk here. Collins is 30, and for D linemen, that's often when the decline starts creeping in. We've got to manage his snaps smartly, keep him fresh. But if we do that, if we rotate him in high-leverage situations and keep him healthy, I truly believe this could be one of the most valuable signings in the entire league. Now here's the twist. While everyone's talking about Garrett's contract drama or the latest quarterback rumor mill, I think the real masterpiece of this offseason could be the Myles Garrett signing. It's not sexy, it's not loud, but it's smart. It's the kind of move that championship teams make. Build depth, add experience, fill a need with a guy who still has plenty in the tank. That's what winning front offices do. And speaking of Garrett, yeah, we got to talk about this because whispers are swirling out of Cleveland, and when I say whispers, I mean the kind that usually turn into smoke. And where there's smoke, there's usually fire. Word is that Garrett is livid, like absolutely heated, over something that was said behind closed doors. And it wasn't just anything. It was reportedly a comment about Shedeur Sanders, the rising star quarterback, out of Colorado. Now, we don't know exactly who said it or even what was said word for word, but insiders are calling it disrespectful and dismissive. And let's just say Garrett didn't take that well. He's never been one to hide his emotions when it comes to the game, and especially when it comes to respecting talent. Whether it was a shot at Shedeur's skill, toughness, or just what he represents as a new wave QB, whatever it was, it clearly struck a nerve. And I get it. Garrett's a locker room leader. He's been through enough dysfunction in Cleveland to know how quickly a fractured locker room can tear a season apart. He believes in mutual respect, in everyone being treated like a professional, rookie or veteran, quarterback or lineman. This type of comment, it could seriously shake up the vibe inside that defensive room. Now let's step back. Shedeur Sanders isn't just any prospect, he's the son of Deion Sanders. He's got the arm, the poise, the leadership. Scouts love him. Some people already see him as a future franchise quarterback. So you know how that buzz builds, especially in a place like Cleveland where we're always talking about quarterbacks. So now you've got speculation. Could Shedeur actually land in Cleveland someday? Would the Browns move heaven and earth to bring him in? Or worse, did someone inside the building make a comment that basically wrote him off? That kind of thing can create a divide. And if Garrett's this upset, then it's not just smoke. It's something we need to keep an eye on. But listen, whether or not anything comes from that situation, one thing is clear. The Browns are making moves, some loud, some quiet. But together, it's shaping up to be one of the most balanced and dangerous rosters we've had in years. So yeah, keep your eye on Myles. Keep your eye on Shedeur. But definitely keep your eye on Myles Garrett. Because when the dust settles, and this defense is wrecking offensive game plans, you'll remember this moment, this move. All right, let's talk about something that's been brewing beneath the surface. Something that, on the outside, might look like just another off-season rumor. But if you've been following the Browns for any length of time, then you already know. The smallest whispers can turn into something seismic. So here's what I've been hearing, and honestly, the more I look into it, the more it makes sense. There's a rumor floating around that Myles Garrett, the cornerstone of this franchise, heard something behind closed doors. And whatever it was, it didn't sit right with him. Supposedly, it was a comment made about Shedeur Sanders, and not just any comment, but one that felt dismissive, disrespectful, maybe even coded in a way that Garrett couldn't ignore. And if that's true, if that's even partially true, then everything about Garrett's reaction makes perfect sense. Because let me tell you something, Garrett's not just a pass rusher. He's not just the guy who shows up on Sundays and racks up sacks. He's a cultural figure inside that locker room. He's a mentor. He's someone who takes real pride in shaping the future of this game, not just in terms of who wins and who loses, but in terms of who belongs. And for him, when a young black quarterback like Shedeur Sanders gets reduced to just a set of stats or a lazy stereotype during a team discussion, that's not just a football opinion. That's a trigger. That's personal. And if you know Garrett's background, you know he's not the kind of guy to brush that off. He's been outspoken for years about player empowerment, about mental health, about equity in sports. So if someone made a slight comment, maybe in a scouting meeting, maybe just talking shop, but it came off as dismissive or biased, yeah, that's gonna set him off. So, please take 2 seconds to hit the subscribe button, like the video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. I want you to picture this. Garrett, sitting in on a meeting, maybe watching tape, and he hears a coach or front office member make a flippant remark about Shedeur. Maybe it's something subtle. Maybe it's the tone. Maybe it's one of those comments that sounds harmless to most people in the room, but to someone like Garrett, someone who's seen how quickly young black QBs get written off for reasons that have nothing to do with their talent, that's not something you let slide, and from what I'm hearing, he didn't. Apparently, things got heated. A source close to the team described it as a very tense conversation between Garrett and someone in the Browns front office. We don't know who. We don't know exactly what was said, but we do know this. The Browns have not issued a single comment, not a denial, not a clarification, nothing. And in the NFL, that kind of silence speaks volumes. Now here's where things start to shift from interesting to possibly alarming. Because when someone like Myles Garrett is visibly frustrated, when a team leader is having it out with executives during the quiet part of the offseason, you've got to start asking the hard questions. Is this just a blip? A heated moment? Or is this the start of something bigger? I've been around this fan base long enough to know we've seen our share of drama, right? But this feels different, because it touches on something deeper. It's not just about football evaluations. It's about values. It's about how this team sees the future of the league. And Garrett's reaction suggests he's not just fighting for Shedeur, he's fighting for a new vision of what this franchise should stand for. And that's powerful. What makes this even more interesting is that some people close to Garrett say he sees himself in Shedeur, not just in terms of talent, but in the fight to be taken seriously, the fight to shake off narratives that get pushed on you before you ever take the field. That's what this is about. And when Garrett senses that someone's out there reinforcing those old narratives, yeah, that's when he pushes back. And now we've got to ask, is this going to affect his future with the team? Because I don't care how loyal someone is. Everyone's got a breaking point. And if Garrett is starting to question whether the people running the show in Berea really see the game and the players in it the way he does, that's the kind of thing that sticks with a guy. That's the kind of thing that doesn't just get smoothed over with a handshake and a "my bad." We've seen stars walk away over less. And Garrett's got plenty of good years ahead of him. He doesn't need to stay somewhere if he feels like the culture is off. And let's be real. This isn't just about him being sensitive or overly emotional. This is about respect for the game, for the guys coming up behind him, for the next generation. Now, as for Shedeur, he hasn't said a word, not on social media, not in an interview, nothing. But you know his camp has heard the rumors. You know they're watching this, and they have to be asking the same questions we are. Is this a good sign for the Browns culture or a bad one? Does this show that the team is willing to challenge itself and evolve, or that it's still clinging to some outdated thinking? And here's the kicker. This whole thing popped up now in the calm of the offseason. That's telling, Because most guys are chilling right now, working out, staying in shape, enjoying the downtime before training camp. This is supposed to be the quiet part of the calendar, and yet, this little ripple is starting to grow into something much bigger. If you ask me, Garrett's had enough of the old-school mindset. He's done watching the same patterns repeat. Maybe this was the straw that broke the camel's back. Or maybe it was just the first real test of his patience in a long time. Some long-time beat reporters think this is about more than Shedeur. They think this is about the environment inside the Browns building. That maybe the culture hasn't changed as much as it needs to, and maybe Garrett's been holding that in for too long. The scariest part for us Browns fans? What if our most respected player, our captain, is starting to check out emotionally? That's how you lose more than games. That's how you lose the heart of your team. But hey, others are saying it'll blow over, that Garrett is just passionate, and once things are cleared up, he'll refocus and move on. That could be true. Maybe this was a one-time flare-up and everything's back to normal behind the scenes. Or maybe the Browns will do what NFL teams love to do, spin this as proof of leadership, turn Garrett's anger into a storyline of passion and dedication. But let's not lose sight of the bigger issue here. Something was said. It didn't sit right. And Garrett wasn't going to be quiet about it. That says a lot, because in today's NFL, you can't just dismiss that. Players aren't afraid to speak up anymore. They're not afraid to walk away if they feel disrespected. And I'll say this too. If this whole thing really is as deep as it sounds, and if it's not addressed the right way, we might be looking back on this moment months from now as the beginning of a shift. A cultural shift. Maybe even a roster shift, because once a franchise player starts paying attention to what's being said off the field, the team better start listening. That's where we're at. For now, it's still just rumors, still just whispers. But if you've followed the NFL long enough, you know this. Whispers have a way of turning into headlines. And when a guy like Garrett is involved, it doesn't just go away quietly. So we wait. Maybe a tweet drops, maybe a press conference veers into cryptic territory. Or maybe this gets buried by the next flashy trade or preseason hype. But something real happened. And if Shedeur Sanders' name keeps coming up in Cleveland circles, don't be surprised, because now his story, and Garrett's response to it, is tied to something way bigger than a scouting report. And if you're still with me, make sure to drop a comment. Tell me what you think's really going on, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We're just getting started with this story. Trust me, whatever comes next, we'll be talking about it right here. Go Browns!